Hello and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be reviewing Agurin on Jarvan, and we're going to be looking at how he can find gank opportunities in games where you would otherwise struggle to do so. For example, here we have a tank top laner, a tank mid laner, a tank jungler that also is poppy, so it cancels our EQ, and then like a kind of annoying bot lane. While we in our team have, like, Jesus Christ, man. We have some special stuff. We have an assassin mid laner against a bunch of tanks. And we have like various Ash, so pretty interesting overall. So he opens up by trying to look for the red buff, I guess I'm trying to say. So he obviously starts topside because no reason to really pat into like these tanks. And not really too much to say about that because we don't need to really look at that. What we want to look at instead is like, what are the lanes looking like, right? So, I mean, this is just the classic. People do like 2 camps, 3 camps, and then they run bot lanes, so cool. I mean, nothing to do here because as you can see, this lane is just here, but they're both full HP, so not much to say here. Their bot lane is getting ganked, which is disaster. But how does Poppy recognize that she can go for 2 camps rather than 3? Well, pretty simple, right? So first of all, she sees here that the Varus is actually walking up to ward. She knows that something is warded, right? So that's something that she does know. While she doesn't know exactly what's warded, but Karma like decides to sweep it. But either way, she can see that they already started pushing. And since they already started pushing, if both of these stay in lane and Karma Karma helps scale and push, and Varus walks up to ward, then sure, they can probably deep push, but why would they really do that? So this sequence makes more sense, and that's why he knows that this should be gankable for him. If the Karma doesn't walk up and sweep, right? Because the Poppy decides to do this before the Karma sweeps. What can be done instead is the Poppy could try to go like this, walk here and like flash over this wall, and that's pretty much guaranteed in high elo to avoid the ward at this timing, because pretty much everyone wards somewhere here or they ward here. Like there's almost no one that will ward this bush. So that is something to think about. You can also like think about it a bit in terms of how long the Varus was gone, but in the end it ends up being like this, and fair enough. Obviously though, if she did flash over the wall, then it would be a lot harder to get the gank off itself. I'm just saying that that is something that could be done, and especially if she was another champ that has a dash, then this could be something that becomes an angle. But yeah, so Agurin actually chose to full clear pretty much here, apparently. Which is fair enough, because his bot side died, right? So what are you really gonna do when your teammates die? Just see what you can do, right? And then if you can do nothing, then just do nothing. So he clears all of the stuff, and then he decides to go into the enemy jungle, which is pretty interesting, kinda. Because he doesn't have much prio, but okay, sure. He decides to go for a really long wraparound because he knows that there's vision here, I suppose. So he's looking for a gank from behind while the enemy ganks like this. It's pretty cool. And the reason that this is really obvious is because there's nothing to play for topside, right? Like, for example, here the enemy laner is base. Here the enemy laner, like, bro, this lane is resetting. So obviously the lane that's actually slow pushing is going to be the one that both teams play towards. So whenever this happens, like, either the enemy jungler is bad or he shows up there, right? But his bot lane ends up doing fine in it, and then he gets rewarded as well. Which is okay, cool. he needs to push this out because it's like a big wave, but he needs to push out the next one as well. So yeah. But he ends up getting a dragon as well. This isn't really the focus of what we're looking at though. Poppy's kind of running it, but whatever. So now he decides to base, which is fair enough because he has a lot of gold. An interesting item choice though. He goes for Caulfield and Ruby. Pretty interesting. So then he decides to clear again. I mean, top lane, you're not going to achieve anything even if you gank it, so yeah, mid lane is basing. So unless you want to leave your whole top side up, you're going to have to just do these camps and move on. Not much to really say about it. This is just whatever. Like, the Orin is just there, so he just ganks it while he's passing through. But, yeah, I don't know. Cool. So now in this position, right, the enemy bot lane is now slow pushing, which is pretty much the same scenario as before, but this time instead of your bot lane being the ones pushing, it's like enemy bot lane. And now all that's gonna happen is the roles will be reversed, so now your teammates will look to play bot side and the enemy has to like look to counter, which is pretty much how League works. Like one team looks to do something and the other team looks to counter it. And a lot of it ends up depending on lanes. Obviously, if the junglers don't actually read the lanes properly, then it does end up depending on junglers. But if you do read the lanes properly, then oftentimes it ends up just depending on the lanes. But yeah, this is an interesting invade, which I wouldn't say looks very worth it, but sure. Yeah. So now we need to look for more ganks because we still need to get more of a lead, because the enemy bot lane got 3 kills and our 2 kills on Jarvan are not going to be something that is enough to carry. But okay, so let's see what bot lane is like, right? These guys are slow pushing again. And obviously the enemy jungler is playing for it again. And he decides not to do anything about this, so he's just letting them die, I guess. And he's gonna play for Herald, I suppose. So like do Raptors and Herald or something? I don't know. Or Raptors Red Herald? Or what? I mean, Poppy pinged that he's probably on Herald, but he's doing this, apparently. Okay. There. Then he's doing Crux. Okay. I guess. Right. Okay. I mean, that's interesting, I suppose. I mean, like, the reason that he was bot side is firstly because the dragon is spawning, and secondly because they're crashing wave and they're actually playing up. Meanwhile, top side like they base. So yeah, pretty cool, I guess. Well, we need more ganks, bruh. Like, this is not looking like a game that gives us good insight on ganks. But yeah, I mean, if I'm looking at this at like 11 minutes, I would think that he probably loses this game. At this point, his top laner is somehow doing decent though. Top laner solo killed, no? I think the top laner got solo kills. So now what, he just clears again? And then, okay. So how did he spot this gank, right? So, I mean, this guy is like obviously up in the lane and trading. And I mean, like, okay, so when can you actually see that this guy is pushing up, right? So like when he starts doing this, you can already see that at this point he's committed to pushing, because if he doesn't push at this point, right, then what ends up happening is that the lane is just frozen against him, so at that point he's gonna push no matter what. Ay. And yeah, they end up getting a kill. And okay, so why does he look for bot lane? I mean, not too much of a reason, he just looks for it. But he looks for dragon instead. Like, the thing is, bot lane play is too late, because once this has crashed, there's nothing to do. The good thing, though, is that he gets them off the turret, technically, when he's padding bot side, so they don't take the tower yet. Because the earlier the Caitlyn Karma take the tower, the worse it is for his team. Pretty much. I mean, that's obvious, right? But yeah, they did the Poppy special. Ult you away from objective and steal the objective. Ay. Try to be healthy, impossible challenge. And yeah, I mean, he just drive-by ganks mid whenever the mid walks up, but I mean, like, there's not much to say about this, because he's basically just drive-by ganking it whenever this guy walks up. And he's transitioning through the map. Like, this isn't so much of a spotting a gank as it is that he's going to go topside anyway, and this guy's just here, right? But then if we look at bot lane now, this is just a reset, right? So we might as well play topside now, and this guy's resetting, so taking a Herald at this point, okay. I mean, if he didn't take it now, then I would be questioning my entire existence. I'm dying, man. It's fine, it's fine. Yeah. I mean, he goes mid because he wants to take the mid tower with Herald, right? Not much else to really say about that. And since they didn't let the enemy bot lane take the tower in bot, what happens here is that the enemy bot lane doesn't actually have that much impact, right? Like, these picks like Caitlyn Karma, they have no impact if you don't let them take the towers and you don't let them move around the map and do stuff. Because they're just sitting in bot lane, like, being contained. And later on, they won't be that useful. It's not that insane. So, it's really good the way that ends up for him. So he bases here after one camp. Is he, like, gold for something? Wait. Ah, okay. He got, like, cleaver and a pink. Okay, fair enough. Okay, so at this point there's nothing to do on the map, right? So we're gonna, like, our exercise basically is to look at where the most people are gonna be, right? Where most of the people are gonna be. So Sion is dead, so there aren't gonna be people here. And Talon is topside, but he's low. And I don't know if we know that this guy's topside. But okay, so there's not much here, right? And Caitlyn is here, and two people are here. So basically, just from this, we already know that the bulk of champions is bot side. So the only place that people might play is here, basically. There's no real reason for them to play anywhere else. So you might as well be playing here. So yeah, some interesting stuff happens, I suppose. But then now we're just hard winning the game, and from this point onwards, it's like a free win, basically, kinda. Because, well, mostly it's a free win because the enemy is too contained, so now they have no damage and they have nothing they can really do. And they're kinda useless. So then, realistically, like, they don't do anything. I don't know. Some interesting stuff happens. But yeah, there's not much to say about that. But you can see the way that he approaches stuff is kind of interesting. So you only have one lane where you can play, right? And that's bot lane. Because if you play top side, like there's nothing that's gonna happen. So then basically you have to play bot side. But that's exactly what he does, right? It's quite interesting the way he chooses to do it though. Because we saw him choose to clear a lot on Jarvan, because he can't do that much this game. So I don't know. But then we also saw him not prioritize Herald, while both me and the enemy jungler thought that he would do it that timing, but instead he chose to take Krugs, which is interesting, I guess. And then later we just saw that he would punish this guy whenever he walked up, and otherwise he would just look bot or clear camps. And that was cool. But the main exercise that you should apply to your own games is that you want to look at where the action is happening, right? So like bot lane, right? So that's the lane you want to look at. And if you can't tell where the action is going to be happening in the next like 30 seconds of the game, then that's an issue for you, right? Because again, bot lane, right? Like he can tell bot lane is where it's going to happen. And I already said why it's going to happen, but yeah. Then again, bot side, right? Then okay. So then, cool. Then right now it's also bot side, but yeah. And again, like bot lane, right? So that's why this ends up being a bot lane centric game. Because all the action is going to be bot side. Because that's the win cons, and that's also the way that it ends up being played. But especially in games where you have multiple threats, this becomes more important. Because for example, if instead of being like these NPC matchups where it's like tanks, you had like assassins and enemy also or something, then suddenly you have to become a lot better at reading, because you need to read it on every lane at the same time. But that's something for another time. I just wanted to do a quick review of Agurin's Jarvan and also see how he won a game that you would think would be pretty hard to win. So yeah, if you enjoyed the video, then like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Peace.